Hi and welcome, it's Jim from Avstar. I know you haven't seen me for a few days, but I'm still alive. Well, at least there is a pulse. I'm still here. What a disaster over the last few days. You may have picked up on the news if you're in the UK, or you've heard on your news media outputs that we've had some heavy winds which have pulled the propellers straight off of the wind turbines and literally smashed the whole of one of the largest solar power installations to smithereens almost. It's a debris site. It's not only damaged the solar panels, it's actually damaged the framework. It's that bad. And that's why if you go on National Grid here in the UK, or I'm sure you can search it if you're outside the UK, just have a look how much is being produced. Just over 9%, only just. And we're having to borrow electricity off foreign countries in order to meet the demand. And I think we're heavily reliant again on gas-powered generation of electricity. Can you believe it? I think we've got about 15% of our demand being met by nuclear and other, but it's not good. This is a failure. The whole CO2 is a complete scam, and it has destroyed and will completely destroy eventually the entire global manufacturing process, because what we've got just isn't good enough at the moment. Solar and wind will not meet the demands of the future electricity. And we've seen what happened today. Massive devastation. We're just in the wrong latitude of this earth to be concerning ourselves on this tiny little island of 60, nearly 70 million people, with this nonsense. Climate change is real. We've had the farmers today in Westminster down London protesting again about the inheritance tax and all the other things that they've lost, like the subsidies in some cases. And I was watching on the Times YouTube channel, and I just couldn't believe the comments that were being said. And it shows how much people don't work together when it's necessary. And what a lot of people don't realise, and I know you've been listening to me probably for a short while, maybe a long time, and you may have been pacified by every time I say this is going to come to a head, and it's not going to be something that we're going to enjoy going through, but it's here right now. The catastrophe is unwinding, and governments around the world just can't simply cope. I mean, look what happened in Syria over the last few days. And initially, at first, I thought this is a bit strange. Iran did threaten Israel that they would meet them on the battleground. And I thought, are these really from splinter groups of terrorism organisations? And, I know what people are going to say here, but I'll just say this. Yes, I understand that one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. It just depends on what side of the fence you're on, I suppose, how you look at people, what you classify them as. I just think the British government is a total and utter waste that need to throw themselves in the bin. Literally, all of them. Sir Keir Starmer's the worst Prime Minister we've ever seen, ever. And, even if you're an historian, I don't think there's been a worse leader than Sir Keir Starmer. And, his answer to this was, if you don't like it, leave. Can you believe it? Well, let me tell you something. That is exactly what the Brits are doing right now. Those that can are getting out of this country because it's scrap. They've ruined it. And you know what? We've seen so many chancellors. Watch how many Sir Keir Starmer has if he's even in power, because there are millions of people trying to vote him out at the moment. And you know, it was talked about in front of him. What do you think about the protest and the you know, the debate that's going on about people in the millions are taking up surveys to get you through it? He said it's not a real survey. It really is that ignorant to the fact that, you know, he thinks that this is not real. The people don't want him in this country as a leader. He's useless. And as far as I'm concerned, they're not trying to correct the problems that we've got. So therefore, they will just continue to escalate now in a downward spiral. It couldn't be a more depressing time for people in this country. They have literally wiped out the middle class. Literally wiped them out. There is only a poor class, and you know, there's a level of poorness, you know, a spectrum of poorness, and there's the very rich and elites. And you know, from what I've heard today on social media sites like this, from a few people that I listen to, people are starting to get a bit fed up. You know, you can only push someone into a corner, but if they've got no more room to move back, then they're coming out fighting. And you know, there are people now saying that they're going to go after these rich elites. And you know, they must have seen this coming. The Jeff Bezos must have seen this coming. That's why they're building their little you know, underground bunkers, and rightfully so. They need to crawl under a rock, because you know, Jeff Bezos might have created a massive empire, but let me tell you what he did. He destroyed the high street along with all the other, you know, big companies. And now that's why we're left with just about 3 or 4, or let's say a handful of large companies that own everything. How is that capitalism? Just ask me that. It doesn't matter anymore how hard you work. You know what? You'll just be able to, like everybody else, meet your bills and have a very modest lifestyle. And that's not a life that we, you know, are paying into a system to receive. We want a better quality of life than what we've got. Just total nonsense on everything the government does. And you know, this is, I'm talking about the Brits here and the British government authority, that it's the same worldwide now. It really is. Going back to Syria, you know, I am so surprised that the Syrian government didn't even seem to fight back. And that's why I thought, oh, this must be the Iranian army, you know, that have, you know, gone in plain clothes so that they can get soldiers to, you know, Lebanon and then engage in the war with the Israelis at the moment. But now I'm just thinking the country was bankrupt and there was no saving it in any case. I mean, I don't know what the situation was with how they were being paid, the soldiers and the police force there. And you know, they just probably thought, I'm not dying for this scraps. You know, it's not worth my life. So on, you know, like we saw on TV, literally dropping the uniform, throwing the gun away and running off. So just not good, is it, guys? And I was even thinking today, you know, if things don't get any better in my little network, then I'm going as well. I'll do something else. And that's why, you know, after Christmas, you know, I'll finish up with the Class 1 HGV. I should be a HGV driver then. But I'm not thinking of, I am thinking seriously now of leaving the UK. Because I've just had enough. Enough is enough. And you know what? With that attitude that Keir Starmer's got, if you don't like it, go. Then I just might do that. After Christmas. because, you know, what's the point if there's no prospects anyhow? And here's another thing I wanted to just mention just before I end the video, is did you see the amount of views we got on that video that was titled Joe Biden Pardons Hunter Biden? It's only a couple of videos ago, but it received something like 300. And I've never received such a low number of views, and it was just pure censorship. Pure censorship. It's like, you know, the farmers are down in London protesting, driving the tractors through Westminster, and your mainstream media are not really covering it. They don't care. The paid opposition weren't covering it. And on this Times live broadcasting of the farmers in London, I'm sure there were paid provocateurs in that comment section, you know, and I couldn't believe that, you know, there was a lot of people that said, stuff the farmers, they're rich. Most farmers I've seen, not all of them, but I know a lot of them will walk around with a shoestring around the waist, holding the trousers up as opposed to putting a belt on or buying themselves a belt. You know, I know they get up early hours in the morning, you know, to get the work done, because there's just simply not enough hours in the day for them. They do work seriously hard, and if it wasn't for the farmers, there wouldn't be no food in the shops like there is right now. And why aren't people behind them? Just don't understand it. Why are people agitating in these comment sections like they are? You know, in the end, after watching several comments of this one person, I said, you know what you sound like? You work for MI6. And the response back I got from him was, actually, it's GCHQ. Oh, I thought, you know what, I wouldn't be surprised if it was true, because that's what we're dealing with now. I don't know how much more, you know, globally people can put up with, you know, being lied to so much as what we are, and watching at the same time them wax themselves rich when they're supposed to be servants of the public. I really don't know how much more people can put up with, because things are hard now. It's like, you know, I've had to make a lot of cutbacks, you know, like a lot of you guys, you know, the heating, you know, you have to ration it. And when you're shopping, you're always conscious of, is it a necessity, or, you know, is that a little bit too much of a luxury? Shall I buy that, or just, you know, reserve it a little bit, you know? And that's why, you know, I don't think I've brought lamb or beef for months now. It's just always chicken. It's a bit depressing. Chicken and rice, but you know, I can cook good, so I make the rice really nice rice, you know, savoury rice, peas, sweet corn, some onions and garlic in there. I can make it great. I don't mind, but I have got all of a sudden bored of buying chicken. Not the dearest part, I mean, not the whole chicken. I buy the legs and the thighs, because I think that they're a good quality piece of the chicken at an affordable price. You know, they don't break the bank. And what I'll do is, if I buy a big pack of it, I'll cook it all, and then I'll probably do a few different meals with it. I could have a roast chicken dinner with some potatoes and things like that, or a chicken curry, or I can just eat chicken as a snack, you know. But I'm getting bored of that now, like you do. But it's what we're all doing, and it's unnecessary. You know, we didn't grow up living like this, and it's through the stupidity of idiots that aren't qualified to know what they're talking about. Like, let's go in all in on CO2 causing climate change. That's such a lie, and they've silenced anyone that has said anything against it, just like they have ourselves on this channel. couldn't be any further away from the truth. And it's just so that they can raise massive quantities of money so that they can embezzle it, and rob it basically. Once it goes from one system to like somewhere like the United Nations or the European Union or another organisation, it gets filtered down and back into the pockets of the politicians. And we know it. Come on, we're not stupid. They're dealing with millions and millions of pounds. If they was interested in using the money correctly, there wouldn't be people like Joe Biden, gifting billions of pounds to the Ukraine, saying you haven't got to pay it back. Just have it. Guys, I will this time put the mince pie by Maverick Star, a mince pie link in the description. It's up to you. If you're feeling the pinch, don't worry about it. But we'll leave it at that. I'm interested in your comments down below, and I'll be reading through those later on. But until then, as always, you keep your family safe and do what you have to. As always, bye for now.